Good morning, all of you. Welcome to the online extended session of yesterday's chapter, that is India during the Maurya period. So let us start today's session. Okay, let us start the session. Welcome to the online session organized by Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation. Today I am your host teacher Girish Patil. Today's session is the extended part of history subject. The lesson we are learning here is lesson number 7, India during the Maurya period. This is the second lecture. See what 2 points mainly we are covering in this lesson is. The first point, the Greek Emperor Alexander's invasion, which we learned yesterday. The second point, the Maurya Empire. Yesterday we saw that what were the reason why the Mahajanapadha's Magad was declined and how Maurya Empire came into existence. In today's lesson, we are going to focus upon to learn about the work and the understanding of the Emperor Ashoka for the welfare of the subjects. Yesterday we saw that Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of the Maurya Empire. After him, his successors were there. Among them, the Emperor Ashoka was the prominent leader because the work done by Emperor Ashoka is very important for his subjects, and we are going to learn about that in the today's lecture. To learn about the ancient India art and literature. Maurya Empire was prominently focusing upon the art and literature, because we come to know about this because of the remains which are found in the archaeological excavations in our country, and we come to know about the glory of the art and literature during the Maurya period. So we are going to focus upon this 2 points in today's lecture. Let us recapitulate our previous knowledge. Yesterday we saw that Emperor Alexander was on the mission to conquer the world. He was a Greek king, and while on the mission to conquer the world in 326 BCE, he reached India. See, this map is showing the path from where the foreign invaders used to enter the Indian territory. He reached India. He crossed the Indus River Valley and he reached Punjab. He was in the mission to conquer the world. But while coming from a long path and fighting lots of wars, his soldiers were tired and his army was rebelling against him and was telling him to go back to Greece, meet the families, and then come back to on the mission. At last, Emperor Alexander have to listen to his armaments, and he decided to go back to Greece. But while going back, he appointed some strapas, some men to look after the conquered territories. While going back, the Babylon city, which is in Iraq nowadays, due to the health issues, Alexander died over there. When Alexander died, Seleucus Nicator, one of his strapa, became the king. Seleucus Nicator decided to extend the plan of Alexander of conquering the world. So he again came to India. But till Seleucus Nicator came to India, the Magad Empire declined and Maurya Empire was established. And Chandragupta Maurya, as a powerful king, he fought with Seleucus Nicator, defeated him, and extended the Maurya Empire till Kabul area in the northwest. This we learned in the yesterday's lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to learn about the Maurya Empire and the kings in the Maurya Empire. First, we know that Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of the Maurya Empire. After Chandragupta renounced the throne, he was succeeded by his son Bindusara. After Bindusara's death, his son Ashoka succeeded the throne in 273 BCE. See this first picture. This is the representing picture of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of the Maurya Empire. He renounced the throne. Means he was a very good king. He looked after his subjects. He renounced the throne. We saw that after, in the last moments of his life, he left the throne and he accepted the Jain religion and he went for the meditation and to live a simple life. After him, the throne was being succeeded by his son Bindusara. And after the death of Bindusara, the throne was succeeded by Ashoka in 273 BCE. Ashoka has been appointed the government of Takshashila and Ujjaini before he came to the throne. See, when Bindusara was king, Bindusara appointed Ashoka as a governor at Takshashila and Ujjain to look after the subjects over there. And there were some problems in this area. So Ashoka was sent over there to look after the problems of the subjects. As a governor, he has successfully crushed the revolts of Takshashila. There was a rebelling against the Maurya Empire by the people living in the Takshashila. But Ashoka, as a very intelligent and very powerful king, he crushed the revolt at Takshashila. Life with any ruler. He came to believe that truth, non-violence, compassion, and forgiveness were the important values. Ashoka's heart was so shaken that his ambition to extend the empire and to fight with the other rulers came to an end. And he believed that truth, non-violence, compassion, and forgiveness were the important values. These values are very moderate values. Means a person having these values never ever troubles another person or always helps the one who is in the the war of Kalinga, he saw the soldiers who were alive, or the soldiers who were dead, the soldiers who were handicapped during the fight, their families were under a great suffering. The person who was earning the bread and butter for the family was died, and so the family was under great suffering. So Ashoka decided to take care of the families, to take care of the parents of the soldiers who were died, who were handicapped. And he gave the same message. There is a good and right to serve one's parents. We should serve, we should take care of others too. The second message, the victory which aroused compassion and love is the real victory. When you have argument with other, or you have a fight with other, after that fight, love should arise in between you and the person whom you are fighting. Means your fight or your argument should be for good relations, not to conquer the other person. If you want to conquer, you should conquer their hearts, was the message given by Emperor Ashoka. So in this way, we have got some deep information about Emperor Ashoka, and as a person, how was Emperor Ashoka, and during the reign of Emperor Ashoka, till what extent the empire of the Maurya Empire was flourished or extended. Now, in this slide, we are going to see that what Emperor Ashoka worked for the spread of the religion. What work he did for the spread of the religion. Basically, we know that this period was influenced by Buddhism and Jainism. So, Ashoka have embraced Buddhism. Ashoka was very much fond of Buddhism. He was the follower of Gautam Buddha. And he had convened the third religious council of Buddhism at Patliputra. We all know that Patliputra was a prominent city, was a capital city during that period. And Ashoka have convened the third religious council of Buddhism at Patliputra. Bhagwan Gautam Buddha have started the religious councils, and the third council was convened by Emperor Ashoka at Patliputra. Ashoka sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sangamitra to public welfare activities. See, Ashoka was a king, and the period was that the son of the king will ascend the throne. But Ashoka's son Mahendra and Ashoka's daughter Sangamitra, they also embraced Buddhism. And they learned the teachings of Gautam Buddha. And they were so influenced by the teachings of the Gautam Buddha that one day they decided to leave all the value of the kingdom and become the monks. See the first picture here. This represents the son of Ashoka. See, he became a monk, Mahendra. And in the second picture, Ashoka is giving a message to his daughter, Sangamitra, to spread the message of Gautam Buddha all over the world. And so he sent his son Mahendra and his daughter to public welfare activity, or to spread the Buddhism in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, in different countries. Emperor Ashoka laid stress on the creation of facilities for the welfare of the people. For example, he made provisions for free medicine and medical treatment for the people as well as for the animals. He built many roads and planted trees for the shade on both sides of the roads. He dug wells and built dharmashalas. See, Ashoka was not just a king to earn the taxes from the people. He was the king to look after the welfare, to look after the needs of the subjects. In order to make his subjects comfortable and to make their life ease, he made provisions for free medicines, free medical treatment, not only for humans, but also for the animals. He made veterinarian hospitals. He built roads for the people, because roads are very important to connect each other. So he focused upon making roads. While making roads, he also planted trees along the both sides of the roads in order to get the shade on the road. So the people walking on the road should not feel hot, and their journey should be their journey should be very easy. He dug well and built the dharmashalas. Emperor Ashoka dug wells in order to get drinking waters for the people who are coming to his kingdom and the people who are living in his kingdom. They should not wander in the search of water. They should get adequate drinking water. And he also made dharmashalas. Dharmashalas are the places where the travelers or the homeless people find their shelters. So he made the dharmashalas for his subjects as well as for the travelers who were coming to his kingdom. An inscription of Emperor Ashoka at Delhi Topda shows that he had put strict restrictions on the hunting of the bats, monkeys, rhinoceros, and on setting fire the forests. See, as Emperor Ashoka was having a very much great concern towards the humans, he was also having a great concern towards the animals too. The inscription at Delhi shows that he have put strict restrictions on the hunting of the bats. People used to hunt the bats. People used to hunt the monkeys, rhinoceros, and many wild animals. But Ashoka was concerned about that, and he makes strict decision or strict rule not to hunt them. And also he put restrictions on setting up the forest on fire. Some people, for hunting the animals, they set the forest on fire. And when the animals are in the hustle and bustle to save their lives, they hunt that animals. So in not to happen this, Emperor Ashoka put restrictions on all of these things. See, in this picture, we can see a pillar. This is an inscription in Delhi where the message not to hunt the animals is been written on this pillar, is been engraved on this pillar. And here you can see the inscriptions of Emperor Ashoka. So from this slide, we come to know that how Emperor Ashoka was concerned about the humanism and also about the animals, and what he have done to flourish the Buddhism. He sent his daughter and his son to different countries to spread the message of Gautam Buddha. Now, administration during the Maurya period. As we all know that Maurya Empire was of the large extent. A huge part of India was being covered by Maurya Empire. And Patliputra was the capital city of the Maurya Empire. For the sake of administration convenience, the empire was divided into 4 regions, each with its own capital. As the region was very vast, it was difficult to look after the region. Hence, the emperors were of great mind. They divided their regions into 4 parts. The eastern region, Toshali, that is in Odisha. Western region, Ujjaini, that is the Madhya Pradesh. Southern region, Suvarnagiri, that is in Kanagiri, that is in Karnataka, and the northern region was Takshashila, that is the region of Pakistan. So all the 4 regions were made, and the officers were appointed at that region to look after the welfare of the subjects. There was a council of ministers which advised the king in the matters of the administration, working of the different levels. There was an efficient intelligence service which kept an eye on the administration and on the movement of the enemies. See, this is the sign of a great administrator. The great administrator segregates his, or he gives his power to the officers appointed at that area. So these Maurya kings were the great administrators. In order to help their subjects or to solve the problems of their subject, they made different officers at different levels for different administrative offices, and they segregated, means they have given their powers to that officers to solve the problem of the common people living in the area. So from this we come to know that what a great administrators were the Maurya kings. Life of the people during the Maurya period. During the Maurya period, agricultural production had great importance. As we all know that India is an agricultural country, agricultural production was in the great importance at that time too. Trade and other occupation had also proposed well. There were many occupations like carving, engraving on ivory, weaving and dyeing clothes, and metalwork. Black glazed pottery was also produced. See, along with agricultural activities, the trade activities were also encouraged by these Maurya kings. So carving, engraving on ivory, weaving and dyeing of clothes, and metalwork were the businesses the people were doing during the Maurya period. And black and glazed pottery, means the shining potteries were also made during that period. Shipbuilding was carried out on a large scale. In metalwork, the technology of making articles of the other metals as well as those of the iron had developed. Not only mud articles, but not only wooden articles, but metal articles were also made during this period. Different festivals and functions were celebrated in the villages and the towns. Different festivals were celebrated by the people to enjoy their life. Dance and music concern were the part of the entertainment. People, in order to entertain, they used to do dance and music. Wrestling, bots and chariot race were the popular as so board games and chess. In order to entertain or in order to entertain the people, the wrestling, bots and chariot races were being organized by the kings. And the board games were also famous. Chess was the famous board game at that time, and it was called Ashtapad. Chess was known as Ashtapad during Maurya period. Art and literature of the Maurya period. During the period of the Emperor Ashoka, the art of the rock cut sculpture was promoted. See, you can see these pictures over there on the right side. It is showing that pillars are made. This is the pillar of Sarnath, and a cave, means a stone cave, is at Barbara in Sultanpur in Bihar. These pictures you can see on the right. The pillars erected by Ashoka are excellent specimen of the Indian sculpture. They are excellent carving and the animals like the lion, elephant, bull on their pillars. Means the carvings were made of the animals too. The chakra or the wheel on the Ashoka pillar at Sarnath has a place of honor on the Indian national flag. The pillar has lions on all the 4 sides, but only 3 are visible from the front. This is the official seal of the government of India. See, the our national emblem and the Ashoka chakra on our national flag, both of these things are taken from the inscriptions made by Emperor Ashoka from the pillar at Sarnath. If you will go at Sarnath, you visit this place, you can see the pillar made by Emperor Ashoka, that is Ashok's thumb, and the Ashok Chakra in our national flag and our national emblem are taken from the same pillar. The cave sculpture at Baraba Hills, carved during the period of the Ashoka, are well known. These caves are in Bihar. They are the oldest cave sculptures in India. When you will go to Sultanpur in Bihar, you can visit this place, Baraba Hills, and the caves there are very beautiful. And this shows how how the Maurya kings were giving the encouragement to the art and culture. After the death of Emperor Ashoka, the Maurya Empire began to decline. Emperor Ashoka, after the death of Emperor Ashoka, the Maurya Empire began to decline. Maybe the kings after Maurya Emperor Ashoka would not be so powerful, or maybe they have chosen some another path instead of ruling their kingdom. After the Maurya, many new states and some empires also merged in India, and many new states and empires merged in India. The Maurya Empire was the largest empire in ancient India. When we look after the history of the ancient India, we come to know that the Maurya Empire was the largest, one of the largest empire in ancient India. In the next chapter, we shall discuss the political and the cultural happening in the post-Maurya period. So in this chapter, we focused upon the administration, the life of the people, and the working of the Maurya kings for the welfare of their subjects. And till the end of this chapter, we saw that after the death of Emperor Ashoka, the Maurya Empire came to an end. So in the next chapter, we shall discuss about the political and cultural happenings of in the life of the people in India in post-Maurya period. So in yesterday's lecture, we have covered the half part of this lesson, and in today's lecture, we have covered the most important part of this lesson. I hope all the points in this lesson are being explained and have been understood by you. We will be sharing this PPT and all the lecture on YouTube. If you want to refer all this videos, you can go to YouTube and you can search the lessons. I am ending up this lesson. I hope all of you have understood, and which will help you out in solving the exercises. Thank you all of you, and have a nice day.